Hey there, Dream Chasers. This is Hannah Pryde, and welcome to Pryde Shine, the podcast where we explore the innovators and influencers of Dubai. Proudly sponsored by Pryde Migration, your dedicated partner to make Dubai your reality. So welcome to the show, Mr. Moran. How are we?
Very good. Thank you for having me. About time.
I know.
Finally made it here.
Long last. So for everyone that doesn't know, Lee is the owner, founder and CEO of the Physio Coach, which is an online platform originally for rehabilitation online, which has more or less transferred into also transformations. So tell everyone, how did you even start this online Physio Coach?
So, a long story. I'll try to make it as short as I can. But basically, I came to Dubai as a physio. I moved here 4 years ago. Started working in a clinic. Long story short, didn't like it. The hours were long. It wasn't what I thought I was signing up for. So I left that job, started doing mobile sports massage. And I was doing that for probably a year and a half. And then I realised very fast that the ceiling of what I could achieve with that business model was quite low in terms of scaling. So I always wanted to do something online. Didn't really know how to do it. Didn't really understand how I could deliver the service. So a lot of my clientele that I used to do physio with, sports massage with, were actually online coaches. So I started looking at how they structured their business model, how they looked after their clients, and thought, if I could somehow make that work with what I do as a physio, I think I'm onto something. So that was kind of the inception of the business. Was, right, I'm going to take what I do as a physio online, and it's going to be very rehabilitation led. So for example, if someone has, let's say, an injury, or they have a problem like a shoulder issue they can't train with, or they broke their ankle, they broke their leg, whatever it might be, is giving them their entry point and showing them how to get back to exercise. So that was my idea, and then I just packaged it up, learned how to deliver online, and I launched the business just a little over 2 years ago. So yeah, the growth has been insane. It's been
huge. Yeah. It's absolutely been huge. And I want to go back a bit, because you've made something really interesting there. You said you were looking to scale your business. Obviously, being a physio coach, there was only one of you. You realised that you didn't want to hire people, and most people, the first thing they can think of is hire someone. You took the business model and was like, let's make it an online platform. What was your biggest learning going, right, let's put it online?
It was more because what I recognised with one-to-ones, there's only one of me, there's only so many hours in the day. It used to take me probably 90 minutes to 2 hours for every person I'd see, which meant that I could only ever probably see 4 to 5 people a day, let's just say 5 to 6 days a week. So I knew straight away, I was like, okay, I want to be able to see more. I can't see more. If I try to scale it and bring someone else in, they're not me. The unique selling point of my business was my skill set, which was going to be hard for me to transfer that to someone else. Yeah. Like when I started doing mobile sports massage, I was the guy. In Dubai, like the fitness sector, a lot of high profile athletes used me and came to me. I really built a name for myself in there. So I was that unique selling point. And because I actually had a very medical background from physio, so I knew straight away it was never going to grow in the way I wanted it to grow, and I was always going to just reach a very low ceiling. So I knew online, looking at other online coaches in the fitness space, that the scalability is off the charts. I could have 100 plus clients and look after every single one of them, and the amount of money you can make from that financially is chalk and cheese compared to what I could do with just the in-person. So it was recognizing that very quickly, and then it was just a case of, how do I make this a product and a service? Yeah. So I, for myself, had coaches for my own physique development at points, and I made sure I hired very high level ones that were doing very well in the game, ones who had big client bases. They were earning very, very good money. And all I looked at was how do they deliver this to me? And all I need to do was sprinkle in my knowledge on top of that to someone who might need specific programming for an injury. So it was very easy to marry that together. What I knew straight away, and I looked at, there was no one doing that. There was no online platform that I looked at and seeing, okay, it's a physio, but he's able to get me back playing. He's able to assess me. He's able to put in objective measures to actually track my progress. So it was really that I seen such a gap.
There was a huge gap. It's nothing I've ever seen, and I don't even think there's been another app out since you've done it. I
don't think so. I've not seen it, and I've not seen it done in the way I've done it. You know, so when I launched the Physio Coach, my big thing with launching the business was I'm not going to just launch a business, and because online coaching has took off huge in the last few years.
Massive. And do you know what? It's been perfect for you because you've gone into a coaching, physio, help people get back together. But you've obviously now grown into the transformations and 8-week challenges and whatnot. But people don't realise there's such correlation in how you are physically, mentally, and your well-being of your physical look, I guess, or like how much body fat you're carrying. You've been able to help your clients not only do the physio, but also help them lose weight and transform major transformations. You guys need to look on Instagram. But obviously it does help their physique and all the physio you're doing.
100%. So in its inception, the business was purely going to be about rehab and getting people, again, from injury back to training. So if you look at exercise on a spectrum, everyone's somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah.
You might be a beginner, you might be intermediate, you might be advanced, or you might be injured, right? So it's just a spectrum. And because of my background, again, I'm not just a physiotherapist, I'm also a strength and conditioning coach. Yeah. So I knew at any point of that spectrum, I can come along and actually take someone on the journey in their physique development. So in its inception, it was purely going to be about people that were on the far side of the spectrum with injuries. What it's grown into has been purely body transformations, athletic development, and life-changing transformations. Like some of the transformations that my clients achieve is truly transformational, because a lot of what I try delve into with my clients is not so much just the physical aspect, it's the mental aspect. It's teaching them how to be resilient, building disciplines, building habits, setting certain standards. So these are all things that I set for myself that I try translate back to my clients, because anyone that comes on board with me and works with me as a client, I want them, once they leave, not to just have achieved a great transformation physically, but to be mentally in a much more secure place. Yeah. And when you work with people from specifically an injury background, there's a fragility, there's an insecurity in their body because, again, they've lost faith in something because they've broken down, they have an injury, it might be impact, it might be accidental, it might just be a progressive thing they have to deal with. So you lose a little bit of confidence. But what I know really well how to do is how to help someone improve their mindset around certain things. And when you put that side by side with, let's say, someone who's heavily overweight, a lot of the underlying things are still very similar. Again, it's lack of discipline, it's lack of consistency, it's not understanding how to get started. Where's my entry point to fitness? So what I do really well within the business is knowing how to meet someone at their level and ultimately take them on that journey. So in its inception, it was supposed to be that, and what it's grown into 2 years later has been completely different.
And I think that's a really good thing for any entrepreneur to listen to, is whatever you maybe set out to be or where the business plan originally takes off, especially in a place like Dubai, it's always such a journey that you can actually go in every single direction, and you have to be open to it. Or you could have been like, I just want to do physio, and you would have probably been about 10 steps behind where you've reached now. Yeah. You're now making far more money being able to do both sides of it, rather than just being like, no, all I want to do is physio coaching.
Exactly.
And I think in Dubai, anyone that's thinking of moving to Dubai and set up an online platform or anything, there are things that they need to think about, and it can be mentally challenging, because I'm sure you could have looked at a complete different way and been like, well, it's not going the way I want it to be. I thought we're only going to do physio coaching. Why have now I had to learn a new skill or adapt my app and adapt my challenges to be able to bring on all these people and do a full breakdown of what they need to do to change their lifestyle?
Do you know what it is? It's entrepreneurship in a nutshell. So you can take this in any business, in any area you're in. A lot of people, they have an idea, and often what they struggle with is just getting started with that idea. Like if I was to look at my idea before I started, no one was doing it. I didn't have necessarily a specific model to case what I could do on. So there was a risk involved. And again, it was like, okay, well, how do I actually sell this? This is a hard sell because no one's actually doing it. I don't have a reference point. Yeah. And again, if you take that, like in entrepreneurship as itself, is like a lot of people, first of all, they struggle with getting started. But then along the journey, they might have setbacks, you might have failures, you might have things that are going to be barriers for you. And again, your own limiting beliefs will often dictate a lot of these things. So for me, I was very confident in what I know I can do. And I just needed to know how to deliver it. And I was just open to, I always said to myself, like, I'm going to see how it goes, because what's the risk? I am not happy thoroughly or fulfilled with what I'm actually doing, because I feel like I'm not reaching the heights I feel like I can reach. So what's the risk in starting something? And ultimately, if it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it didn't fail. I had my struggles in the early part, but it just continued to grow through every setback, through every failure, because I learned more. Like, my business specifically in the last year has transformed even more so.
And I think what you were probably struggling to, and I might be completely wrong, is people will say they've got a sore shoulder, a sore knee, a sore back, and they're like, I just need a massage. Yeah. They won't actually realise it's like a long journey. I know myself when I broke my shoulders, bloody hell, like I was not doing the physio exercise. So guess when people are seeing a transformation, like I'm losing body fat, that's the end goal. If someone's got a hidden, I don't know, trapped nerve, something's teared and broken, you can't see the physical result. There's no transformation. And people, especially with an online platform, is they buy the change, they buy what people are seeing.
They want to see the visual.
Legit, and you're selling something that's mainly internal. You can't take a before and after of a picture.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And like, my before and afters in the beginning were showing function. For example, someone couldn't lift their arm above head height and now they can. It's like, that's not that cool looking and no one really cares. Whereas someone who might have had, let's say, that injury, but I was able to rehabilitate his injury and now he has a six-pack. It's like, wow. Yeah. Oh my God, because a lot of the time someone does have an injury, and let's say it's a prolonged injury or something chronic, let's say chronic low back pain, for example, they will normally be out of shape. There'll be a lot of other factors that are going on. Again, they might be heavily over shape, high inflammatory diet. There could be loads of things, right? So those are all things where I can actually come in and say, I can fix all that. Yeah. So the buy-in can be created from that point. And what I was always good at, when I got someone on a call, I was always able to instill confidence in them that I'm the guy to help them, because I'm confident in what I do, I'm confident in the product. Yeah. It was just about, how do I create the lead generations? So what I did very smartly was, before I even launched the business, I had a few case studies, or transformations we'll call them, from clients that I had seen for sports massage that I was able to start working with online and show a physique transformation alongside showing that I was able to help them with whatever injury it may have been at the time. So I was quite smart in how I launched it, and even the way I marketed it, the way I built the brand, I went all in from the get-go.
And you were lucky, because a lot of people don't know, is you were the coach for Stormzy. You done a massage on him or something, and that blew you up. Because we've always been friends. We've known each other the 4 years. We both lived in Dubai together. But that was a pinnacle moment in your career, that you got the opportunity to do a celebrity like Stormzy that had such huge platform. How did that even happen?
So that was probably. It's funny, when you look back in your life, you'll always have periods like that are pivotal moments in life that you can point back to. And hindsight will only show you this, but I look back at that moment and recognise how pivotal that was. Yeah. I was in a job, I hated it. I'd moved to Dubai, I'd been here 3 months, and I decided to quit with no security, no promise of income, nothing. I could probably still only count on 2 hands how many friends I had. Yeah. Real friends in Dubai. So I was kind of throwing myself in the deep end because I wasn't happy in the job. So this was around Christmas time. I left the job, handed in my notice, and then I started doing mobile sports massage. And again, I was supposed to work with someone for that, who told me they had a big client base, didn't really send me any work, and I was kind of like, I've been sold a dream here.
Yeah,
what am I
classic
going to do?
Dubai.
Dubai. So
Always
basically,
happens.
What I had to do was rely on my own network and people I knew on my own social media to try put my name out there. So I actually made a Facebook page called the DXB Physio, and I was like, right, I'm going to use this now to try get clients for like deep tissue sports massage in person. And a friend of mine's ex-girlfriend, she worked for a concierge company. She messaged me one day, this was in January, it would have been 2021. She messaged me, said, Lee, I have a VIP client, needs sports massage, can you see him? And I said, yeah, no problem. Who is it? She said, it's Stormzy. I was like, absolutely, no problem. Where is he? I'll go right now. So basically, I got the booking, and then when I went to see him, I got a picture with him to post, and that was like my launch picture for the new venture of me doing sports massage. And that almost went semi-viral for me. So I posted that on Instagram. I also posted it on Twitter. Like, I had a few million impressions on Twitter. Went really, really big on Instagram. Lovin Dubai done an article about me.
Oh, really? I never knew that.
Yeah, so Lovin Dubai done an article on me, and there was news outlets at home that done articles on me as well. You can just type it in, Lee Moran on Google, and it will pop up. So when Lovin Dubai done an article on me, and there was articles at home going on about me, basically what they were saying was, it was funny because the article from Lovin Dubai was something like, down and out physio gets Stormzy as his new client. Like, I was like, I wasn't homeless. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm okay. Like, I wasn't living on the street, and I just got picked up by Stormzy. So yeah, it was a good title, but basically it was just, it was that kind of story of, was in a position I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what was going to come forward. And I got that book in, and I always think like I took a risk at the time, or what felt like a risk, to put myself in that position. Now, you'll never find yourself in a position for opportunity like that if you don't take certain risks.
100%. And I sometimes think the world really shakes you up, or life really shakes you up before you're about to be elevated to the next stage. So sometimes you have to really feel like you're hitting rock bottom and there's no way out. And then the next thing, you're top of the world, you've got your biggest client, or you've done your biggest sale, or your business has just moved, and people usually walk away, and it's just them testing you like, this is the right decision. If you can stick through this, or stick through this hard time, or take the risk, will reward you in different ways.
100%. I couldn't have said it better. Like, often people will face certain struggles on a journey to achieve something and quit, because they will have setbacks, they'll have failures. And again, this is a mindset thing, and it's something that you often can only learn once you break through that point and you have a period of success with something. And that's hard, because when you're in it, it's very easy not to have optimism. It's very easy to get pessimistic.
Especially a place like Dubai, like you were taking your job off, stopped your job, sorry, and you were probably seeing the big shining lights. A lot of people that were living here, especially that time, were nomads, that there was a lot more rental cars, fast cars, blah, 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 blah. You're taking that big risk going, this is the right thing, it's COVID, am I going to get another job, is this the best thing I can do in Dubai? And it did work out in your favour, but you could have gone the complete other way and like, I'm just going to get another job. Yeah,
I could have fell into that trap. Like, the thing with the Stormzy job as well, like for me, what it did for me was it gave me instant credibility. Like I was seeing him like twice a week for probably around 5 weeks. Real good friends with his sister at the time, like got on really well with him. He was a great guy, and what translated after him was getting some of the biggest names in the fitness industry. Mike Thurston was a client of mine. In the early stages, he put me on his YouTube straight away. You know,
it's amazing, isn't it?
It was amazing, but like again, that all stemmed from my one decision to say, I'm not happy where I am right now, so I'm leaving. Because this is most people, when you move to Dubai, you're usually moving at the promise or the want for something better for your life. I was here 3 months. I was working 50-hour weeks. I never worked that many hours in a job, like sitting in a clinic. I was like, I don't like this. This is not what I came here for. So there was no way I was going to stay in a job that I wasn't fulfilled in, I wasn't happy in, when I'd already taken that big leap of faith to move to a different country. So I just said, you know what? I'm leaving. And what happens will happen. But what I always had faith in was my own ability to actually be very good at what I do, and I've always stood behind that. So I got Stormzy, the likes of Mike Thurston, I had a Team GB Olympian, I had like some of the biggest names in the actual fitness industry and the bodybuilding industry were clients of mine. So it grew massively from then. But again, you know, you can deep and look at it and say, okay, well, none of that would have ever happened if I didn't actually take that chance.
And then where do you think, from having like the strong mindset to be able to take the leap, where do you think that grew from? Because it is something that people have to work on. Not everyone's got the kick or the balls behind them to like, fuck it, let's just do it. But you've obviously read, watched, or changed your front lobe or mental to be like, I can do it. And this is what do you think you've read or watched that's changed your perception?
I think, like, I'm 31 now, right? So for me, I've really changed, I suppose, in the last 4 years, mentally, in how I see life and my perspective on life, and even more so in the last probably year to 2 years. Before, like during my time in Dubai, I've grew up a lot. But before I came to Dubai and where I grew up, like I grew up in a council estate. I grew up in a family that was a broken family, you know, the typical story. Like my dad wasn't always around. He wasn't completely out of the picture, but he wasn't there as a father figure, no one to look up to, no one to teach me things. A lot of my things that I have in terms of my mentality and what I wanted for life was instilled in me by my mum. So she gave me a lot of belief that, okay, you're going to be different, you're going to achieve more, like you're not going to fall into this cycle of what a lot of people do. Where I come from is going down a bad route or a bad road, and you know, so I was always inclined to go in a different direction, and I always did. Like I was the first person in my family to go to college to get a degree, and I went to probably one of the most prestigious ones in the country. It's called Trinity College, so it's like a very, what I would say, posh college. And I used to walk around that college feeling like a fish out of water. I was like so insecure about myself. I didn't like speaking because I felt like they could hear my accent and would know I'm from a rougher area. I'd walk around in like a little Air Max tracksuit and a pair of Nikes on, and people would be looking at me thinking, who's this guy walking around? So I went through a period of real growth then because I was so uncomfortable. I felt so out of place, but I knew if I get through this period and I get this degree, I'm going to have a level 8 bachelor's degree in physiotherapy. That's huge.
Massive.
So I knew I wanted to achieve more. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just had this innate belief that I was destined to achieve more. And look, I think everyone has something like that in them. I was just willing to act on it. Yeah. I didn't want to just let that go away without taking action. Does that make sense?
And that's like the pinnacle, because most people say they're going to do something but never do it. Yeah. And it's my pet peeve. If I hear someone keep saying it, I'm like, just bloody do it. Do it.
Yeah, stop
and I think, just do it. We don't care, do it. Yeah. But like that's such a big thing, and I think you going to Trinity College then probably gave you like an addiction to being challenged, because once you'd done Trinity and you got your bachelor's, I bet there was like a craving to, well, I've done it once, let me do it again.
It was just showed me that I had what it took. Mm-hmm. Now, it was funny because that time in my life, there was such a transition because I actually had a big period of my confidence being really knocked. Oh, really? So I didn't really feel like I fit in. I felt like I didn't belong. Yeah. I didn't make any friends. And I didn't try to. Like, when I look back on it, I used to think I'd walk in there with a weird chip on my shoulder, like everyone's judging me. Mm-hmm. They're looking down on me. They hear my voice. They see I speak differently. I don't come from a posh family. I don't come from money. They're looking down on me. Now, that was my own ignorance. And one thing I always try to say to people, especially where I come from, because this is normal. Like, I come from a council estate area. I love where I come from. I'm proud of where I come from. It's community. Like, it's good. But you'll often grow up with limiting beliefs. Yeah. Limiting beliefs are about the world. It's societal norms for me to not probably go in that direction, especially with how I grew up. And when I was in college and studying, because I never really had friends and never really even made any good connections with people, I was so isolated. And I was so close to quitting so many times. But I just told myself, just get through it. And after I finished, I did have that period where it took me nearly 2 years to go and get a degree. I finished college. I went and done a season in Ibiza.
Classic.
I had a year of madness. I came home. I actually got a sales job. And that sales job, it's funny how life works. Yeah. That sales job now, because I was on calls for Sky in the call centre, I was selling like TV packages and internet packages. Yeah. But that job, for what I do now, has helped me massively, because a big part of my job now is taking sales calls for clients.
It's huge. And do you know, I say to everyone, do a sales job at least once, because the skill set that it teaches you from speaking to people, how to act, how to negotiate, how to figure out what people want and sell them it is massive. Even if you say I'm never going to be sales, the skills that you learn in it are so transferable in every direction of any career that it'll excel you.
100%. But again, it's like, no matter what you do in life, can you sell yourself? Can you sell the idea of you, what you can bring to the table? Can you walk into the room and be confident in who and what you are and bring that level of authenticity? I've always been good at that because like I could communicate well. Yeah. And one thing I actually took from my physio degree was I'm quite a strong communicator. That's going to help me. And when I started working as a physio and I had patients and worked in hospitals and worked in private practice, I was always very good with communicating with my patients. So that only transferred in later in life to where it was really going to help me build what I built now. And I didn't realize at the time, because even the technical stuff of being a physio and all this stuff probably doesn't serve me as much now. So again, like after college, I went through that crazy period in life, and eventually I started working in private practice. I was doing that for a few years, and that's where it really came into my own. I was really confident. I learned so much more. I went and got my strength and conditioning qualifications. I went and got my Pilates qualification. I've done so much added stuff, and I really became like a confident physiotherapist.
And do you not think people grow confidence when they become an expert? If you can learn every single thing within your field, whether that be physio, whether that be transformations and losing fat, or whether that be in any career, if you know everything, you're going to be the most confident person there, because you know you can't get tripped up. And I think that's where a lot of people, they want to say, oh, I'm not confident, but if you ask them, they just don't know their shit.
Oh, 100%.
And if they know their shit, they're always confident. Yeah. They can walk into anything and be the most confident person there.
That's all confidence is knowing, one, who you are, and again, being confident in what you know. And I used to say this, I used to mentor students, and I used to always tell them, I said, listen, don't just be confident in what you know, be also confident in what you don't know. So what that's going to look like is you're not full of You're not going to try spout nonsense to someone. If someone asks you a question, you don't know the answer, be confident in saying, I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to go find the answer now. And that in itself, especially when you're dealing with people who, from my industry, and are fragile to a degree, especially if they're injured, they have to have confidence in you. And if you can deliver that very quickly and easy, because I would never try lie about something I don't know. And that's all confidence is. In any walk of life, it's being fully sure about who you are as a person, what you know, what you can offer. And when you have that, you're confident.
100%.
That's all it is.
And where do you think your why stemmed from? Do you think it's been from your mum giving you everything in life and you wanting to build? Or do you have a deeper why that you now have built something that's a service to help people? Because you've got a unique... Loads of people now have these online coaches, but you've had a really unique way of looking at where it's been the physio and it's helping people and rehabilitating, get them back their confidence, not only in the way they look, but internally. Where do you think that stem for why and scaling it and to allow your knowledge to get to bigger levels came from?
I think it's interesting because
you've obviously got a passion about it. You're on Instagram doing videos, and that's a lot of balls, and a lot of people normally don't do it. So there's obviously a deeper why that gives you the confidence and pushes you every day to put it in every direction.
I think, again, like my why for me is, I've always thought about what am I going to do in life? Like, what am I good at? And what I've always felt I'm good at is helping other people. Like, I'm that friend typically that people normally come to for advice or for the problems or be able to speak to me. And I've always had that kind of calming effect, and I've always had that good perspective to give someone. And again, it comes back to what is my why is, like, I think the biggest impact I can have is the one I'm going to have on people around me. Yeah. Now I can actually have that on so many other people because of the business I built. I could never have had that in other ways without building an online business. So it just kind of blossomed into what I have. I never really foreseen that. It's almost like it's just what it was supposed to be. And who knows, the growth of my business could go in a different direction. I don't know. But right now, for what it is, I can impact so many people's lives all at the same time. And again, like, my why is that it's ultimately like I want to be able to impact other people strongly. I want to be able to impart my message. I want to be able to help people grow. And I'd say that's where my why is. Where my why comes from, I mean, I think, having the childhood I had, which wasn't a bad childhood, I'm not going to say it was a bad one. It was just one that didn't have lots of things in it, right? I didn't have that normal family unit.
But
I didn't have certain things.
Probably craving more for that now, and making sure, whether it be your work, whether it be your relationships, everything has a really strong foundation because you want to grow on something you never had. Well,
that's what I learned this through doing therapy, and a lot of what you tend to do and what you search for in life is probably born out of something you didn't have as a kid. And that's everybody. Like, this is normal, right? And we all have our traumas, we'll call it, as kids and when you grow up. So for me, it was like there wasn't that much security in and around my family unit. There was not much stability to a degree. People came and went and all the rest of it. And so what I search for in life and what I'm really trying to achieve is stability, security. It's building that strong family unit. So I know for me, in order to have that, or what my perception of how that will work is, well, if I'm financially in a really strong place, if I'm mentally and emotionally very secure as a man, then I'm going to be able to build a family and I'm going to be able to keep them safe and have that security. And that's the things I didn't necessarily have as a kid. So that's where it usually comes from. Like, when you talk about someone's why, it usually will stem from something in their childhood.
1,000%. And you've touched on a big topic that I love speaking to people about, therapy. What made you start getting therapy, especially somewhere in Dubai? Because in Dubai, everyone loves to pay someone to help them. And I feel like it's not like that in every country in the world. But in Dubai, everyone's got a therapist, everyone's got a coach, everyone's really trying to benefit. What was your fundamental or turning point? You went, do you know what, I'm going to get a therapist. Was it before you came to Dubai, or was it in Dubai?
So it was in Dubai. It was actually just a bit over a year ago now. And when it comes to therapy, I love talking about it because I want to make it seem so normal and I want to make it seem so casual, because I really think it is. But if someone hears, years gone by, people that hear someone's in therapy and think, psycho. And you would naturally you would think there's something wrong with them. But I think it's so normal, it's so good. So for me, a big part of why I do therapy, and I'll explain why I started in a minute, but a big part of why I do it is because I want to understand me. I want to understand why I am the way I am, why I am triggered by things the way I get triggered by things, why I react to things the way I react to things, and all the rest of it. The reason why I started therapy was because I've been in a few relationships in my 20s that didn't work out. And what I started to look at was taking a lot of ownership and responsibility from my part of why it didn't work out. I would say, a good relationship with probably all the exes I've been with after the fact of breaking up with them. Like, there's no animosity, especially for me, there's no bad feelings. But I still had to look at myself and think, well, I had my part to play. it's easy to point the finger. It's easy to blame them or blame what you weren't getting and what you were lacking. Until you start turning that finger around saying, what about me? What am I not doing? Where am I lacking emotionally, and how can I help that? So it was last year, I went through a breakup, and then I went away to Bali for the summer. And I was in Bali, I met a really close friend there, and we used to talk a lot. He had been doing therapy, and we were having so many very deep, powerful conversations, and it really started to open up my mind to certain things. And I was like, I want to learn about that a bit more. I want to understand why I'm like this. So I started last year, and I've been doing it ever since.
And do you not think it's benefited your business as well, because you've got the clarity? Because this is what I find super interesting, is when you have that clarity of who you are and what you believe in and what your core why is and why you do things, it just represents through to your business, because of the authenticity just travels through, and you've got a much more clearer mind because you've actually spoke through every issue, trauma, anything that's coming up. So it allows you to then just go back and focus on what you need to be focused on, rather than your subconscious mind tapping in and out all the time.
What it does specifically, it allows you to operate on a frequency of abundance, not from lack. So a lot of people, what they struggle with, again, when you're in business or in any walk in life, again, is what you're chasing coming from a place of fear or a place of abundance, right? And that can dictate a lot of things. And if you're a believer in energy, and if you're a believer in frequency and all these things, which I am now a lot more than I've ever been, I can see how much me being in a more of a place of abundance, me being a little bit more clear in my mind about my own feelings, my own aspirations and everything else, and who I am as a man, now I'm operating on a different frequency. Like, even I would say since, because my business, let's say it's 2 years old, but in the last year specifically, it's grown even more. And I remember speaking to my therapist about this, and I was it was the start of the year, I was a little bit stressed, I was a bit all over the place. I'd been seeing somebody at the time, and that was affecting that in terms of work, and me being stressed was affecting that. And I remember him saying to me, he said, what are you afraid of? Where is this coming from? What are you stressed over? He said, because all you're doing is you're creating a lot of negative emotion around what you're trying to achieve. He said, you need to have faith and trust in this is going to come, and stop operating from a place of lack. Start looking from a place of abundance. And all that did for me was it allowed me to, and it's not like a case of you never get stressed, it's not a case of never feeling these feelings, but just creating a little bit of perspective when you go through moments like that, and then it changes a lot of things. So all it did was it allowed me to relax, allowed me to trust again in the process and what I was doing, and stop operating from a place of stress or anxiety or fear, and start operating from a place of confidence of I believe in myself again. So all these things. So therapy massively helped the business grow. But also I work with a lot of clients who struggle from a mental aspect. And that's why if you look at anyone that's out of shape, it is normally a reflection of the relationship they have with themselves. Whether that comes down to discipline, habits, their own kind of self-efficacy, how they believe in themselves, their willingness to take action for positive change. When you can tap into these other things, again, I said this before, my clients don't sign up with me because I give them the best training plan in the world, the best nutrition plan in the world. Granted, they get really good ones, but they sign up to me because I'm going to coach them. And what does that mean? That means I'm going to actually help them develop from that side of things in terms of their mindset and their beliefs, their limiting beliefs, show them how to break through periods where they have challenges and difficulties and all the rest of it. That's what changes lives, not just giving plans.
And do you know what? I think that's such a key fact that you've been able to pinpoint, because a lot of coaches don't realise, or a lot of people don't realise when they're paying for these coaches, that it isn't just a diet plan. Yeah. It's someone you're speaking to, and you are probably a therapist to a lot of people, whether you're fixing their shoulders or getting them into shape. Like, they'll come and speak to you about all the stuff that they're inconfident about or what they're triggered by, and you going to therapy, I guess, is super transferable into your business and allows you to unlock to the next level. And what your business probably grown by how much in the last year? Stupid amounts.
Yeah, a lot. I would say.
It's grown massively. And that just shows as soon as you've been able to speak to people and taken what they've taught you and pass it on to your clients, of course it's going to, the word of mouth is growing, and you've already been able to build a community on Instagram through being TV shows and whatnot, that you can then relay the information up. And it's allowed you to scale on such a huge level. But it's probably what a lot of coaches need to hear is go to therapy, because at the end of the day, you are a therapist without even realising.
100%. And even for me, I think this is what makes me stand, I don't want to say stand out, but stand to one side in this, because I have a very different background. I'm a physiotherapist. I used to treat patients that were on their deathbed, or had to teach someone how to walk again after being in an accident, or had to teach someone how to even just get on the toilet. So I was always working with people from very low bars, we'll say. And when often someone comes on board and they are heavily out of shape and they're heavily overweight, it's not just that, oh, well, they just need to diet. That's not what they need. They need a support system. They need someone to guide them. They need someone to push them, to set standards. They need someone to keep them accountable. They need a lot more than a training plan. And if you just give them a training plan and a diet plan, they will fail very fast.
And you're not fulfilling what they paid for. And I think that's where a lot of the coaches do feel. And some of these people, like, I don't know why I'm not getting businesses. Well, they're only doing the bare minimum. Yeah. And at the end of the day, when you're in a service field, you need to give everything and more, because if you don't, someone else will.
You always over deliver. You always over deliver, specifically when you're trying to build a reputation, specifically when your business is a baby. We'll say, if you're not over delivering, well, then you don't deserve all the things you're looking to have. Like, that's ultimately it. Like, what your business will achieve will ultimately be a reflection of the hard work you're putting in. And if you're not getting your just desserts from it right now, you will eventually. You just need to keep going. We spoke about it earlier about just riding that wave and not quitting at the first bit of friction. It's pushing through, perseverance, and then you will get your rewards at the end. But if you're not getting your rewards, well, work harder. And if you're working hard, well, keep going.
100%. And what's been the biggest thing you've learned from having an online business? Because 4 years ago when you came, we didn't really hear of all these people. I guess it was COVID, people were starting to work online. But I feel like now more than ever, there are so many online transformation coaches, diet plans, blah, blah, blah. What's been the biggest thing that you've learned since starting your business in this field? Someone
said this to me before, and it always rings true. And he said, because a lot of people will say it's a saturated business. Yeah. And someone said to me, it's not a saturated business. It's just saturated at the bottom, not at the top. Yeah. And that just made me see it in a whole different light, because there's a lot of people trying to do it. There's just not a lot of people doing it very well. Yeah. And I knew, and again, with what I know I can do and what I can deliver, I knew I can operate at that level. I've hired some of the best coaches to coach me from physique development, and also I had a very good business mentor. So it was just the willingness to go and invest in myself, to get myself to that point, to invest in people that are doing what I ultimately want to do, because they've done it. They can give me a lot of insight. So what I really learned since I started an online business was the importance of investing in myself continuously to get to where I want to get to. Invest in someone who's doing what I want to do, because they'll be able to show me the way. And before, I used to create resistance around that because I was arrogant. I was probably naive. I used to think, I can do it all myself. Yeah. I don't need that. Same with a physique coach, right? You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, I know what I'm doing in the gym, so I don't really need a coach. That's not the point. What makes you think they can't take you to a new level, to a higher level? And that's what I found when I first hired my coach to do a 12-week challenge for me. I got in the best shape I've ever been in. And I've always been in good shape, but I got in better shape. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, well, there's a reason why. They didn't tell me anything I didn't know, but I still got in better shape. Yeah. Do you understand?
And it's the accountability, and I think that's where a lot of people say, I don't need a coach, why would I get a PT, why would I do this? But having that someone that's outsourced accountability and making sure that you're hitting the T's and C's just like a teacher would when you're back at school really makes a difference. And I think it's interesting when you read it or look into the people that are wanting to invest in themselves. Usually those people are the ones that exceed in every areas of life because they have so much respect, or they value or love themselves so much that they're exceeding in every area because they're really trying to get themselves always to the next level.
100%. You have to recognise your faults. You have to recognise your weaknesses. And you have to be honest enough with yourself to say, okay, I can either improve that or I can just keep looking for excuses. Yeah. Again, it comes back to something that I really changed in me the last few years is everything that happens to me is all my fault. And even though that's such an idea of grandeur, it's like, if you believe that, it just gives you power to take action and to stop relying on other people or to stop blaming external circumstances. Because even, like, that's a crazy thing to say. Obviously, not everything that happens to me is all my fault. But it just gives me the power to say, I'm the one that's going to fix the problem. I'm not going to look for something else.
And I think that's the main thing about anything when you're an entrepreneur, when you move country, is taking accountability. If you want to change your life, if you want to get to level, you need to do it. No one else is going to pull you along the way. You have to have the kick up the bum. And I'm having to finish the podcast here, but it was so good getting you on, and what a great way to finish.
It was a pleasure.
Best of luck in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you.